Breaking tonight on ABC News Live, Prima wildfire rips through parts of Nevada. Nearly 100,000 people urged to evacuate.
I'm Melissa Don reporting from Reno, Nevada, where firefighters are battling the Hawk Fire, dealing with extreme dry conditions, hot weather, and shifting winds. Why authorities now believe the fire is, quote, human-caused.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z. I'm tracking the fire conditions around Reno, Nevada and that Hawk Fire, but also extreme heat warnings from Los Angeles to Phoenix all the way to Dallas.
Turning up the economic heat, President Trump is increasing pressure on Iran. The administration is now threatening to sanction any nation doing business with the country. This as the president also escalates his trade war with Canada, how it could impact your wallet. The Lindsay Clancy murder trial moves closer to being handed to the jury. The latest heated clash inside the courtroom as a prosecution witness is reprimanded by the judge. The murder-for-hire trial for rapper Lil Durk begins. Tonight we go inside the complicated web that led us to this moment. The dress code debate at Tuskegee University. Does a new ban reinforce racial stereotypes? Our conversation with the university president. The lights are still out for thousands in Gary, Indiana, nearly 2 weeks post-storm. The investigation calls from the governor and what the town's mayor is blaming for the holdup. And mystery of the Manhattan manhole. A strange video showing people popping from a New York City manhole that has the internet talking.
From ABC News, this is Prime with Lindsay Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We are tracking breaking news tonight. The Supreme Court is clearing the way for President Trump to move forward with his executive order restricting mail-in voting. We'll have more on that in a moment, but we do begin with the wildfire emergency in Nevada. Tens of thousands of people have been urged to evacuate their homes as the devastating Hawk Fire rages near Reno. Firefighters in Washoe County have been battling the fast-moving fire since Saturday, which has burned more than 15,000 acres. The National Guard is on site as well as shifting winds and dry extreme heat challenge efforts to bring the fire under control. As the flames close in, police and first responders are helping residents evacuate their homes and get to safety. Officials are investigating the cause but say it was started by human activity. Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z is tracking conditions in the region, but first, ABC's Melissa Don is on the ground in Reno and leads us off.
Tonight, the National Guard, along with hundreds of firefighters, are in an all-out battle against the raging Hawk Fire. The fire broke out Saturday night in the densely populated Sierra foothills outside Reno, exploding in bone-dry conditions and winds gusting at 40 miles an hour. It's now burned more than 15,000 acres. That's 23 square miles.
It was like an end-of-the-world scene.
Jason Davis shot this terrifying video while cutting a fire line around his neighborhood with a bulldozer, trying to save homes.
The fire went from about 100 yards out to sweeping over our head.
This video shows what his harrowing escape looked like through the flames. Officials in Reno going door to door, also evacuating patients from 2 area hospitals, urging thousands to get out of the area. Homes, businesses, vehicles scorched. They're calling the fire human-caused, but it's unclear if it was deliberately set.
Scary. I have 6 kids.
Jennifer Alvarado had to scramble when she got the call to evacuate her young daughter on that cot, still in her cheerleader uniform.
The Red Cross has been amazing, but we all want to go home.
We can all understand that sentiment. Melissa Don joins us now from Reno, Nevada. Melissa, officials just did a damage assessment. What can you tell us about that?
Lindsay, officials say that about 40 structures have been damaged or destroyed so far from this blaze. This as roadblocks here remain in place as firefighters are battling this blaze amid very hot and dry conditions. Lindsay?
Melissa Don for us. Thank you. Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z is tracking the dire conditions fueling these fires as well as the dangerous heat impacting millions from Southern California to the Gulf Coast. Ginger?
One of the biggest issues around the Hawk Fire and so much of the West is the relative humidity being so low. Tomorrow it will drop below 20%. The brown and white on your screen there represents a really low relative humidity for so much of the Southwest, the Rockies too. So fire danger is high in a lot of places. All you need is a wind gust like they could have tomorrow up to 30 miles per hour, and that can move fire too quickly. The heat, at least the extreme stuff, is reserved down to the deeper Southwest, like Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Phoenix, and Tucson. This has been almost 2 weeks of this for this area, so they're no strangers to it. But heat is cumulative, remember. They're going to keep these through Saturday, and we have extreme heat warnings from Dallas back up through Oklahoma, over to Waco, and even Austin, Texas.
Our thanks to Ginger. The Supreme Court has cleared the way for the Trump administration to move forward on new mail-in ballot rules ahead of the midterms. The conservative majority ruled the administration can create a national list of eligible voters, dismissing a lawsuit brought by multiple states. For more, we turn to our Jay O'Brien. So, Jay, what exactly is the court allowing the administration to do after this ruling?
Yeah, Lindsay, it gives President Trump the green light to implement parts of an executive order aimed at curtailing access to mail-in ballots while this issue works its way through the lower courts. It pertains to some aspects of that executive order, but not necessarily the most controversial, which is aspects that relate to exactly what the Department of Homeland Security should do when it's building that national registry, as the executive order calls for, of eligible voters, and a part of that executive order that orders the post office not to send out mail-in ballots to anyone who isn't on one of those federally available government lists of so-called eligible voters.
And there's another order that would dramatically change how the Postal Service distributes mail-in ballots. Where does that order stand?
That applies a little bit more to those two aspects of the executive order that I just mentioned. That is still on hold right now, although the Supreme Court can still take it up. The question here is, Lindsay, will any of this be in place by the November midterms? Right now, more court battles are still expected. It's unclear if these restrictions are going to be in place. The first ballots of those November midterms, they are set to go out starting next week, Lindsay.
All right, Jay O'Brien for us. Thanks so much, Jay. And joining us now for more perspective on the Supreme Court decision is ABC News legal contributor and professor at Hofstra Law School, James Sample. James, thanks so much, as always, for joining us. So the conservative majority ruled essentially that the states had not yet been harmed by the executive order, and that's why they allowed the order. Help us understand that rationale.
It is a complicated and procedural rationale, Lindsay. The court said that, in essence, because the states had not yet been ordered to do anything, that all this really amounted to, all the executive order amounted to, in the court majority's view, was the equivalent of an internal memo to internal staff within the executive department. And therefore, the argument was the states have not yet been ordered to do anything. Therefore, the states have not yet been harmed. Therefore, the states, when they sued after this executive order was issued back in April, were in essence suing too soon. Their claims were not yet in the legal vernacular ripe because they had not yet been harmed. So this is a procedural victory for President Trump, but I would be careful about calling it any more than just a temporary procedural victory.
So the court noted that it is not ruling on how the order is implemented, saying time will tell. Do you see this case coming back before the court?
I do, Lindsay, and I see it coming back before the court in the very, very near future. This was one of two injunctions in place, both of which were before the same federal judge in Boston. Tomorrow, the government has a response due at 8 a.m. before that federal judge in a case involving the League of Women Voters and a number of voters who are challenging this, as opposed to, in this particular case, the states. Those voters can claim a degree of injury now that the rule has been issued by the U.S. Postal Service of actual harm, because there is a final rule in place, and it is expected that that district judge will rule very, very quickly. She has hinted that she is likely to strike it down. That will then go before the First Circuit, and then I suspect on an extraordinarily fast track up to the Supreme Court. The timing here is extraordinary. In a sense, the court ruled today that the states ruled too soon, but I guarantee you that if the federal government loses, if the Trump administration loses tomorrow or loses in the next couple of days in that district court, the argument will then become it's too late. So this is a bit of a Goldilocks problem. The states were too early, and now it may be too late to prevent this from going into effect.
Fascinating. All right, James Sample, really appreciate you helping us to understand all of this. President Trump is escalating the economic pressure on Iran by threatening to sanction any country that continues to do business with the regime. This comes as a trade war with Canada is brewing, as that country is set to announce retaliatory tariffs after President Trump ordered new tariffs on that country. Rachel Scott reports.
Tonight, the U.S. and Canada racing towards a full-blown trade war. President Trump threatening new 50% tariffs on Canadian car parts, cars, trucks, and steel. Prime Minister Mark Carney vowing to retaliate dollar for dollar.
You're at war when you get attacked. We got attacked.
Trade talks collapsed over the weekend.
They came in with a bunch of unreasonable last-minute demands. I frankly thought we had a deal. I think that we should have a deal, but I think that we need to send a message loud and clear.
Ontario's premier lashing out at President Trump.
Well, he can kiss my ass as far as I'm concerned.
Then doubling down.
I have a lot of real estate on my ass, so he has a lot of room to kiss my ass. Hopefully they'll come to their senses when they see the pain he's putting on the American people.
Canada's prime minister zeroing in on American auto workers.
What message does that send to the workers in Michigan and Ohio and Kentucky and Alabama who rely on Canadian demand? We're their largest customer for automobiles.
Already steep tariffs on Canadian products hitting home. Michael Howard's furniture business in Warren, Michigan relies on Canadian lumber.
Those tariffs hurt American businesses, American families like mine. We ultimately are the ones that pay the tariffs, and I wish folks really understood that.
It comes as the administration turns up economic pressure on Iran. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was expected to unveil a host of sanctions against countries that do business with Iran.
An economic engagement of any kind with this murderous regime will expose those responsible to the full reach of American power.
But Bessent wouldn't name the countries the U.S. is targeting or a timeline for them to comply.
Why not impose the sanctions today?
Well, we are giving everyone the opportunity to remedy bad behavior. Why would I want to blow up the global financial system?
Our thanks to Rachel Scott. The final witnesses are taking the stand in the murder trial of Lindsay Clancy, the Massachusetts mother who killed her 3 young children in 2023. The case is drawing attention to postpartum mental health. Today, people dressed in white gathered outside the courthouse to show support for the children who were killed. They're countering concerns raised by groups dressed in pink who have gathered in recent days in support of Clancy.
I'm on most, if not more, meds than Lindsay Clancy is, and I've never wanted to hurt my kids. Myself, sure. My children, never.
The Massachusetts system, healthcare system, failed Lindsay. She reached out for help multiple times. She told them that she was having thoughts of harming her children and harming herself, and she was turned away countless times at countless locations.
In the courtroom today, the prosecution called expert witnesses as they try to push back on the defense's claim that Clancy was in the throes of postpartum psychosis. Here's Deborah Roberts.
Tonight, courtroom tensions running high as the Lindsay Clancy murder trial enters its 5th week, with the 36-year-old nurse accused of killing her 3 young children. Testimony ending abruptly this afternoon after a medical expert for the prosecution alluded to Clancy's Catholic faith, defense lawyers demanding a mistrial.
This is intentional misconduct on the part of the prosecution.
Clancy's lawyers objecting to a forensic psychologist who testified about the final words Clancy told her children as she strangled them to death inside the basement of their Massachusetts family home back in 2023.
In the course of strangling each child, she said, "Go to God, baby, go to God." And that was part of her expectation, that she and the children would be together in heaven with God. She was raised as a Catholic, and this, as I understand, Catholic considerations, that's not necessarily what happens. But when I asked her about that, when I said, "Isn't suicide a mortal sin?"
The judge rejecting the defense motion for a mistrial, but blasting the prosecution, calling the psychologist's remarks inappropriate.
What I am going to do is I'm going to bring the jury in. I'm going to tell them to disregard it. I'm going to tell them that's an inappropriate area of inquiry, and that this witness's understanding of Catholic dogma or Catholic teaching is irrelevant.
The case has captured the nation's attention on postpartum mental health. Clancy has found scores of supporters who believe the defense argument that she loved 5-year-old Cora, 3-year-old Dawson, and 8-month-old Callan, and that she was begging for help as she battled postpartum psychosis.
Our thanks to Deborah Roberts. And for more on the Lindsay Clancy trial and the issues it's raising, we're returning to Dr. Sarah Orrick. She's a psychiatrist who specializes in women's mental health and wellness. Dr. Orrick, thank you so much for talking with us. We just heard in Deborah Roberts' report that one of the prosecution's witnesses said that Clancy likely killed her children as part of a planned suicide attempt. How would that be different from what her defense argues, that she was suffering from psychosis?
Yeah, I think that makes it sort of a different argument. Postpartum psychosis is where there is waxing and waning of consciousness, where there isn't really insight into what is happening. And what that psychologist was describing seems something that was premeditated and obviously required some insight.
Questioning got a bit heated today when the defense pressed another prosecution expert on Clancy's symptoms and diagnosis. Let's take a listen.
So it's your understanding from reviewing her medical records that Lindsay never indicated that she was not participating in reality, that she was in a disassociated state, that she was out of touch with reality. You're telling this jury you never saw that?
I don't see that as a sign, strictly speaking, of psychosis. It may have been in some cases, but I don't see any signs of psychosis or delusions.
Can you explain the distinction the witness may be trying to make?
Yeah, there is between dissociation, which happens to all of us. If you've been driving in your car and all of a sudden you don't really remember how you got to the place where you did, we all sort of dissociate. We're all on autopilot once in a while. So he's saying that that isn't a sign of postpartum psychosis, and that because it happens in so many different people, but there is a dissociative state sometimes and a lack of insight. And certainly in the cases I've seen of psychosis where people aren't totally aware or in control of what they're doing at the moment. And of course, the importance here and the distinction between postpartum psychosis and postpartum depression is that there's really a break with reality. And that's, I think, what the defense has been arguing here.
We were just seeing a video of people outside, women wearing white shirts, women wearing pink shirts, some opposing what happened here, some in support of Lindsay Clancy. What do you make of this? We know that a wide swath of women do experience, whether it's postpartum anxiety, depression, psychosis.
Yeah, much more commonly, exactly. Yes.
And so what do you make of this division that you're seeing outside?
This division, I think, is reflective of, the state of womanhood at this point. I think there's a lot of different divisions in our country. And certainly this case, I think, has garnered so much attention because of it. I think the ladies in pink realize that the mental health system and the health system in general has been failing women for a long time. And whatever happened in this case, we certainly know that Lindsay pleaded for care, that she was desperate to get it and was refused it. Obviously, the children here are victims, and, I think everyone's trying to seek justice, but I do think that there is a lot of misunderstanding about postpartum mood and anxiety disorders and psychosis.
Dr. Sarah Orrick, we thank you so much for your insight on a rather difficult subject. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And for in-depth coverage of the Clancy trial and the day's other major legal cases, make sure to tune in to Burden of Proof weekdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern here on ABC News Live. There is growing outrage in Gary, Indiana tonight. Nearly 2 weeks after severe storms swept through the city, thousands are still without power. The mayor says the effects of the storm and the prolonged outage will be felt for a long time to come.
It's been extremely difficult, very frustrating to be without power for so many days. Folks with medical conditions, individuals, and children not in school. So it's something we're going to be recovering for quite some time, even when the power comes back on.
Today, Indiana's governor called for an investigation into the power company that serves Gary as neighbors turn out for a community relief effort. Reporter Rob Hughes from our partner WLS was there.
Thousands of people are turning out in search of a little help here in Gary, Indiana. Organizers calling this the After the Storm Party. And while many people we spoke to are starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, others are still suffering without power.
At night, the house is burning up. You have to open the windows and all the doors to stay cool. And, it's unacceptable.
Dale Pugh says he's going on 2 weeks without power.
While many others are recently back online, they're still feeling the emotional toll of trying to get by and care for their families.
They've been stopping at gas stations that have power to get their teeth cleaned. They've been stopping at truck stops for them to get changed.
Melissa Rivera is a mother of 4. She says navigating her job and preparing for her kids to go back to school without power has left her feeling very alone.
Gary's already neglected. There doesn't have to be a catastrophe for it to get any worse than it did. And it's just a slap in the face when the people around you just seem to keep moving just fine while you're in shambles.
In response to the calls for help, the city of Gary, the Salvation Army, and social media personality and food critic Keith Lee partnered to host a fully free event, giving away relief kits, food, and even back-to-school supplies.
I think the hardest thing, it past the power, is being overlooked and being in underprivileged neighborhoods where you feel like you aren't seen, but I think, again, it's not because of us, but the people in Gary are changing that.
And while the people work to support each other, Indiana Governor Mike Braun has called for an investigation into NIPSCO's preparation for and response to the storm. U.S. Senator Jim Banks and Gary Mayor Eddie Melton had a phone call with President Donald Trump asking for federal disaster funds. In the meantime, Mayor Melton says he's pushing for NIPSCO to do more as people recover.
I'm pushing for a moratorium to hold off on any disconnections after this, at least 60 to 90 days possibly. No late fees, waive all the late fees. And this is not just for Gary residents. I'm advocating for just the entire Northwest Indiana that this could take place.
NIPSCO says it's aware of Governor Braun's call for an investigation into the company's handling of the August 11th storm and will cooperate fully if there is indeed an investigation. In the meantime, NIPSCO says it is committed to restoring power safely and as quickly as possible. Reporting in Gary, Indiana, Rob Hughes. Lindsay, back to you.
All right, Rob, thank you. Coming up, changes to the dress code at Tuskegee University are causing backlash online. We'll be joined by the university president about why the new policy is being put into place. Plus, a high-stakes murder trial gets underway in Hollywood. We take a look at the Lil Durk trial. And some are calling them mole people coming out of manholes in New York City. What the NYPD is saying about this. Opening statements started today for rapper Lil Durk, who's accused of orchestrating a murder-for-hire plot. Prosecutors say Lil Durk tried to kill fellow rapper Quando Rondo as payback for the death of a friend, but Quando Rondo's cousin ended up dead instead. Now Lil Durk is pleading not guilty to federal charges. ABC's Morgan Norwood walks us through the case and the complicated web that investigators say led to the deadly shooting.
Not quite a household name, but far from an unknown.
I would say Lil Durk is a premier voice of his generation of drill artists.
Chicago rapper Lil Durk, born as Dirk Banks, is one of the most accomplished artists in his brand of hip-hop.
Drill music is a subgenre of hip-hop that started in Chicago. The BPMs are kind of slow. There's heavy 808s, syncopated hi-hats, very deadpan, monotone delivery of lyrics that describe street life in Chicago. And oftentimes it is attached to specific collectives, gangs, or activities that occur on the streets of Chicago.
Lil Durk is known for his Grammy-winning collab with J. Cole, All My Life.
All my life. They be trying to keep me down.
And his collab with Drake on Laugh Now, Cry Later.
Surround Drake, round Drakes. Even though I got a case, I'ma do what it takes.
And rapper Lil Durk has been arrested and charged with a murder-for-hire plot. The Chicago native, whose real name is Dirk Banks.
Rapper Lil Durk facing murder-for-hire charges. He was arrested by U.S. Marshals in Florida.
Some privacy will not be commented at this time.
According to the complaint, Banks and his co-conspirators allegedly worked together to, quote, track, stalk, and attempt to murder a target at a Los Angeles gas station.
Well, now the rapper is facing charges for an alleged murder-for-hire plot and a chain of events that can be traced back to the 2020 murder of another up-and-coming rapper, Davon Bennett, known as King Von.
How we got here is that it's alleged that back in November 2020 that a friend of Lil Durk was killed.
Lil Durk started out in Chicago, very local artist. He began releasing music in the early 2010s under the music collective Only the Family, also known as OTF. Durk is responsible in helping turn King Von from a local Chicago artist to a nationally recognized rapper. The current trial that Lil Durk is a part of, the center of, stems from their relationship.
On November 6, 2020, prosecutors say Bennett was at a club in Atlanta. Also present, Taekwon Bowman, known to his fans as Quando Rondo.
Quando Rondo is a rapper from Georgia, and he is considered the direct rival of Lil Durk and then King Von. Quando Rondo is signed to NBA YoungBoy, and King Von had beef with NBA YoungBoy. As the tensions began to rise between NBA YoungBoy's crew and Lil Durk's crew, Quando Rondo fell in the middle of it.
Investigators say a fight broke out at the club between the two groups, and Bennett was killed. They say to get even, Banks put a bounty on Bowman. Court records then lay out a step-by-step picture of how prosecutors argued the rest of the day played out.
Ultimately, fast forward with this bounty already in place, information was gathered that in California, one of the people that were involved in the killing of his friend would be in California, specifically in LA. So Lil Durk, along with his co-defendants, supposedly flew out to Los Angeles.
On August 2022, OTF members and affiliates ran up on Quando Rondo and his cousin at a gas station.
Prosecutors allege two of the co-defendants came out of the vehicle and then started shooting. One of them is alleged to have used a machine gun, according to prosecutors.
Two of the co-defendants come out of the vehicle and they start shooting. In fact, one of them supposedly used a machine gun and ultimately end up shooting the deceased, who was not the intended target.
So now that murder is what has Lil Durk on trial as the organizer and the operational nucleus of OTF as a criminal enterprise / music collective, according to the prosecution.
According to court documents, a number of Banks's associates who were also charged in connection to the case entered not guilty pleas. Banks has pleaded not guilty. His legal team declined to comment. Federal prosecutors say they have surveillance video, text messages, and forensic evidence to prove their case. They also have Banks' song lyrics. They're pointing to lines like this one on the song Aha.
Man, don't respond. Move on. I'm like dropping locations. I'm getting it done.
When you look at Lil Durk's case, it has a lot of similarities with Young Thug's case in Atlanta in terms of using the music, his own music, against Lil Durk, right, at this trial.
There's been this intense tension between the pillars of what constitutes rap music, as far as the first person narration, the emphasis on exaggeration and embellishment, the fantastical element of it, and then the reflection of real life experience.
Durk's legal team includes Drew Findling and Brian Steele, who have represented other big names in hip-hop like Sean Diddy Combs and Young Thug. Banks and the other defendants are all facing the possibility of life in prison if they're convicted.
We'll be following that case. Our thanks to Morgan. Coming up, New Zealand becomes the latest country looking to implement a social media ban for younger users. And a former NBA player is ejected from a WNBA game after a confrontation with one of the players. Welcome back to Prime. Here's a look at the stories making headlines right now. At least 38 homes and businesses have burned down, and at least 7 people are injured due to the Hawk fire. The fire started Saturday near Reno, Nevada, and has burned more than 15,000 acres. Governor Joe Lombardo declared a state of emergency, and more than 23,000 people are currently evacuated from their homes. New Zealand is proposing a ban on social media for children under the age of 16. The Prime Minister said that the platforms are causing harm to a generation of young people. Research shows that a third of New Zealand teenagers teenagers spent at least 5 hours a day on social media. Australia, Canada, Brazil, and Indonesia have all passed or proposed similar bans on social media for children. And police in New York are looking for suspects who were caught on camera climbing out of a manhole near Penn Station last week. The three people surfaced wearing headlamps and overalls, pulled themselves up onto the sidewalk, and then ran away. Detectives believe these people could be migrants searching for anything of value in the sewer system. So far, no arrests have been made. Still ahead, the state of California abruptly canceled talks with Paramount to settle a lawsuit. We'll tell you why. And the controversial new dress guidelines at Tuskegee University. We speak with the school's president. Welcome back, everyone. Students at Tuskegee University have returned to campus amid a growing debate over what they cannot wear to class and other public spaces. The president of the top-ranked historically black university announced a ban on hair bonnets and other head wraps ahead of the school year that has fueled a heated conversation about proper dress codes and reinforcing racial stereotypes. Steve Osinsami has the story.
Let me just say welcome to Tuskegee University's rite of passage ceremony.
At Tuskegee University in Alabama, they want their students dressed for success. But what started as a quiet change in the dress code this summer on page 142 of the student handbook has almost immediately turned into a louder cultural debate. A new policy designed to ensure decorum appropriate to a university environment means that students who returned last week to this historically black college can no longer wear headwear that includes do-rags, stocking caps, bandanas, or baseball caps in many campus spaces.
It feels like society always wants to control black everything. College kids should be able to be comfortable, period.
I cannot stand when y'all say that we need to uphold standards of excellence, because what does that mean? To me, that sounds like holding black people to higher standards to little to no benefit.
So if teachers at Tuskegee, founded by the great black scholar Booker T. Washington and home of the famed Tuskegee Airmen, feel that students are coming to class looking ready for bed, they can now tell those students to leave and do better. On campus, sophomore class president Rain Caldwell shared this video online, explaining how students feel the school is policing cultural hair coverings in a space they say should feel safe for black students.
There are bigger challenges that are facing our campus. And if the administration believes that we need stronger professional development, we welcome that conversation with open arms. Host etiquette dinners, offer more networking workshops, teach professional dress, donate to the community closet where students can go and get business wear on us.
Hey, my sweet babies.
On the other side, the argument for showing up looking ready has given new life to this 2021 complaint from Oscar-winning actress and comedian Monique that now has millions of views.
I've been seeing it at the store, at the mall. I've been seeing sisters showing up with these bonnets and headscarves and their slippers. And the question that I'm having to you, my sweet babies, when did we lose pride in representing ourselves? When did we step away of let me make sure I'm presentable when I leave my home?
A.D. Carson, a Ph.D. professor at the University of Virginia, says this is an old argument over respectability politics and mainly old people telling young people what to do. And he says it doesn't always work.
You have Silicon Valley tech bros who are absolutely known for wearing hoodies and sweatpants and out here brokering multi-million-dollar deals, billionaires who can't be bothered to put on shoes that have laces. And ain't nobody worried about that. Or the frat boys at Penn State who just got caught running a drug ring. Where's the scrutiny? Where's the smoke for them?
The university points out that they're not doing anything strange. Morehouse, Hampton, Dillard, and other HBCUs have come with similar new rules. They say they want the best and the brightest students in the land to look the part.
Our thanks to Steve Osinsami for that. And joining us now is Tuskegee University President Dr. Mark Brown. President Brown, we thank you so much for joining us. So I want to take that first criticism that we heard there, that the school is trying to police cultural hair coverings. Your response to that criticism?
So it's really about not policing, but providing opportunities. Our policies, which really are tapered in something we call student success, is about preparation. It's not about policing as much as it is about preparation for the workforce that many of these students will enter.
Students have returned to campus at this point. What's the reaction been so far? Any need to discipline?
No, in fact, that's not the focus at all. What I would say is that when you raise the bar, our great students get to that level. The same is true if you lower the bar. And I think the fact that we have a reinforcing an already existing policy, I was very impressed with the campus on the first day of school and the second day of school as I watched our students appropriately dressed go to class. Remember that they don't go to class necessarily in a suit and a tie or the equivalent of that. But if they are going to an interview or to a convocation, there's an appropriate dress for that. So this is about knowing what is appropriate when and where. And it's also about practicing those professional standards that you're most likely going to graduate into.
Walk us through how you came to this decision and why it was important to implement this policy change.
It's important because of our overall focus. Our overall focus is that when our students go across the stage, they are ready in every way. And that doesn't mean just having a great grade point average. That means ready to enter the professional work environment. And so that's our focus at Tuskegee, and it always has been since the founding 145 years ago by Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington emphasized the preparation of the hand, the heart, and the head. And so it's not just what happens in the classroom, it's how you enter that workplace. It's that you're ready to achieve the social and economic mobility, which is essentially the promise of education. So we're reinforcing something that has been around with us for a long time since the founding of this university.
So what happens if a student is to disobey the dress code?
So that's a great question, one we have not had to practice yet, but it's in our student handbook. The first step would be education. You know, we've also had a great number of contributions to what we call our Tuskegee Golden Tiger Closet, which is professional attire. And so our first step is not discipline. Our first step is education, and to bring that student to understanding the realities of why we ask the question. And then if it's a financial issue, to make sure we remove that barrier and help the student be successful. Again, the focus is not how do you discipline a student? The focus, as it should be on any higher education environment, is how you learn, how you understand why, and then how you practice for that profession today while you're going to school.
The university's policy has revived debates, as you know, on whether dress codes perpetuate anti-Black stereotypes against students. How do you respond to that?
So it's a great debate. It's a great debate that's out in the media. I don't respond to that because that's not our focus. It is a debate for debating purposes, but it's not the purpose of our policies. Our purpose of our policies are outcomes, the outcome for the student. I've heard lots of great discussion about the unfairness of the work environment and society, the unfairness to African Americans, and much of that is valid. But if it is valid, should you not be ready as a student to have all the tools in your toolkit so that you can use what you need to be successful? It is not the world that we necessarily want you to graduate to. It is the world that you're going to graduate to. And our purpose is not to win the larger debates. Our question is to prepare the students in the 4 to 5 years that we have them. That's exactly what we're doing.
As you heard in Steve Osunsami's piece, a Tuskegee student said that there are bigger challenges that are facing our campus. She went on to tell Steve that students were being called ghetto and ratchet all over social media and added, quote, "Our president never really stood up to defend us or clarify that those stereotypes do not represent who we are." Your response to that?
So I would say we don't see challenges in a priority sense in that regard. There are at Tuskegee, as there are at any university, many challenges. And, you know, we are meeting all of those challenges. I will tell you that if you look on our website, you will see a campaign to save our students, which is meant to close the financial barriers. You can check my testimony from over a year ago when I testified for the need to Congress for Pell Grant increases and to reduce the amount of student loan debt on our students. That's been our focus since I've been here. And I will tell you that's been our focus even before I got here. So absolutely. Now, in terms of what some may say on social media about our students, I don't know all of those things, but I will tell you this. When the students went across for graduation last year, 7 out of every 10 already had a job. And that's because of the focuses that we put on our students. So what I would say is if you think that about a Tuskegee student, you probably should spend some time here. You probably should look at the outcomes we have, and you should probably wonder why we have done the things over the many years that we have done. And that speaks for itself. I would defend our students any day. I'm one of them. I graduated from here in 1986. I don't know of a better university focused more on its students than our beloved mother Tuskegee.
7 out of 10 graduating with a job. That is certainly a great statistic in this day and age. Dr. Mark Brown, we so appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Coming up, country music legend Dolly Parton opens up about recent health concerns after postponing a Las Vegas performance. And Afro and Latin music DJ Hugo joins us to talk about his debut album, 21 years in the making. Why a former NBA player got kicked out of a WNBA game, what Dolly Parton is revealing about her recent health challenges, and what has 4 feet, 29 toes, and a new Guinness World Record. These stories and more in tonight's rundown. Key discussions aimed at settling a lawsuit pitting a dozen states against Paramount are on hold after lead plaintiff California abruptly canceled today's scheduled sit-down. At issue is Paramount's proposed merger with longtime rival Warner Brothers. California and 11 other states say that allowing the deal to go through would thwart competition and raise prices for customers of those two media giants. Attorney General Rob Bonta met with Paramount officials Friday and now claims that the company leaked details of that conference. Furious, Bonta has called off today's settlement talks. In Chicago, former NBA player Inez Cantor-Freedom was ejected from last night's WNBA game between the Indiana Fever and the Chicago Sky. It came after a verbal altercation between Cantor-Freedom and Sky guard Natasha Cloud. Cantor-Freedom is a vocal critic of transgender athletes playing in women's sports, and he has declared himself eligible for the WNBA draft in protest. Dolly Parton is taking a break from working 9 to 5, at least for now.
9 to 5 for service and devotion.
The country music icon is telling People magazine she's on the mend. Parton opened up about health challenges that have forced her to cancel several planned shows in Las Vegas. The 80-year-old singer says she's responding well after an infection related to kidney stones. Parton also says that the loss of her husband Carl Dean took a physical and emotional toll, but she's reassuring fans she's feeling better and isn't ready to slow down anytime soon. Another sign that robots may soon take over the world. A new record was set at the World Humanoid Robot Games in Beijing. One robot ran a quarter mile in 38 seconds, beating the human record by 5 seconds. The same robot also beat Usain Bolt's record in the 100 meters. But the games aren't just about speed. Robots joined a bean-picking competition to test their dexterity as developers seek to move the tech to more practical, real-world applications. An acrobat is suing Cirque du Soleil after a terrifying fall in front of a stunned audience. Maria Konfektova fell during an aerial stunt 2 years ago to the day in Portland, Oregon. She's now filing a $17 million lawsuit against the circus, claiming they failed to place safety mats on the ground, causing her to break 11 bones. No word tonight from Cirque du Soleil on the lawsuit. And another new world record afoot. A Wisconsin cat is stepping into the record books with an incredible feat of feet. He has 29 toes.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 on this one.
The Maine Coon cat earned the Guinness World Record for the most toes on a cat after his digits were counted at 29, 11 more than the standard number for a domesticated feline. Now to our segment Prime Playlist Shuffle, where we sit down with artists transforming the music industry. From performing at small clubs in Marseille to playing at Coachella, he has surpassed 40 million monthly listeners and is one of the biggest DJs in the industry. Now French DJ and producer Hugo is celebrating his debut album 21, a major crossover project featuring some of the biggest names in music. Let's take a listen to a song off of his album, Moving to the Sun. ABC News' Marcus Moore got a chance to sit down with the superstar DJ to talk about the album.
Hugo, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Man, you've been in this industry for a long time. You've been in the game for what, 20 years?
21.
21 years. You've DJ'd all over the world. And I wonder what made you say now is time for your first album?
That's a tricky thing as an artist, because when you start making music, you want to make an album, because obviously all the biggest artists in the world do album. But I feel like it's something you can do only when you get a certain maturity with your sound, with your style and stuff, especially as a DJ. And I just started to felt it was right in 2024, then 2025. I told my management last summer, okay, I think I'm ready to do my first album. I want to take October off after the Ibiza season, and I want to start working on an album.
And I wonder about this particular album. You have teamed up with some big stars in music. I mean, Snoop Dogg, David Guetta, I think even Quavo is in this new album.
Yeah.
What is it like working with those folks?
It's crazy. Like, I became a music producer because of Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. So you need to understand that last October, I'm actually in the US, in Austin, Texas. And I come out of the airport, my phone is ringing, and I see Instagram message, Snoop Dogg. I open, the guy's like, yo, let's make some music. So I tell like, hey, is that really you and stuff? And he sent me a video. And he goes like, it's me, nephew. And I'm like, damn, that's Snoop for real. And we met. He came to the house that I had in October in Los Angeles for doing the album. He came there, we smoked a joint with my mom and stuff, like doing music. It was insane, It was like, that's like a movie, Someone that was your idol for so many years, that become a friend, and then you end up making music with. It's just like, that's what you guys call the American dream, I guess.
I wonder, was there ever a moment in your journey in this industry where you had doubts, where you wondered if you would make it to this point, or if people would even respond to your music?
Of course. Like, it's mainly like that when you start. First, like, your family is like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you gotta go to school, you gotta study, you need like a diploma or something, which I didn't have, like I didn't go to school, and that's what I mean when I said like, you really need to love it, like crazy love it. It has to be the love of your life for never quitting. And at some point, God gonna start to reward you, Mm-hmm. He's gonna test you. He's gonna test you to see if you really love it, if you love it enough. And if you do love it enough, at some point, you're gonna get success.
And when you look at everything that's happening for you, your team, through your music, what does this moment mean to you?
Right now, I'm not gonna lie to you, there's so many things going on that is complicated. I'm here doing promo in the US, flying back tonight right after this show to Ibiza, and then I have my residency, got to play, and then I'm still working on the part 2 of the album that is coming before the end of October. So there's so many things going on. Like, I didn't really take the time to realize, but I'm very happy. I think I'm living my best life right now, But I'm probably one of the happiest humans on the planet right now.
Well, amen to that. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Hugo, you can listen to his debut album, 21, now wherever you get your music.
And that is our show for this hour. I'm Lindsay Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Have a great night.